any 3D character to speak in real time. And now, once you club these both, you can traditionally put them into gaming as an NPCs, like an interactive NPCs. You can put it into an AR, VR chatbots. You can even put it into any customer solutions, and it can be also be generated thousands of AI NPCs directly from your platform. So are you excited for the demo? Okay, let's play the demo. Now the customizer, where you can upload the image and you can customize the way you want, which can be used across all the different applications. Then create two AI companions. Now the companions, like, this is
pretty hilarious. Memes are a wild ride. Got a favorite meme to share?
Competitors, just extra motivation to innovate faster. Who needs rivals when you have Mars to conquer? What's your take on the competition out there?
Not really, but it could be a fun way to break the ice. Would you use it?
That would be legendary. Just imagine a world where Siri is your personal barista. What other dream features would you love?
Totally. AGI can simplify for everyone. Got a specific term you find confusing?
Not only that, you can directly into game engines. You can just plug it in. You like that? You can create hundreds and thousands of AI NPCs directly inside the game, whether in Unity or Unreal. So see the process. This is called mass character creation. Traditionally, to create a mass character creation of like almost, let's say, you wanted to create a 500 characters. Developed by some developers. So the personalization of any game has been possible. You just upload a photo and now play directly inside the game. So yeah, so we are here to disrupt this entire 3D avatar character industry by just building a solution which only takes 30 seconds to create the same solution directly inside the platform. Thank you. If you are excited, we are outside and we can talk more.
Thank you, Prateek. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to MadScientist Talks. MadScientist Talks are discussions on emerging technologies by professionals who are shaping the tech for good. We host global leaders, professionals, scientists, and tech industry founders discuss their perspectives and innovations in technology. The aim of MadScientist Talks is to spark interest, deepen understanding of cutting-edge technologies, and also highlight new career opportunities in the field. To Today's session is all about breaking barriers and envisioning a future where gaming tech is accessible and inclusive for all. And we are honored to have legends from the gaming world joining us. It is my great pleasure to introduce Bryce Johnson, co-inventor of Xbox Adaptive Controller and co-founder of Microsoft Inclusive Tech Labs. Then we have Peter Vesterbacka, creator of Angry Birds franchising and founder of Slush Startup Event. We invite you all. Thank you so much, Bryce and Peter, for joining us today and sharing. To show our appreciation, we would like to invite our esteemed dignitaries, Mr. Sai Krishna, Advisor to IT Ministry of Telangana, to felicitate Bryce Johnson.
Machine learning course is now live on codebasics.io. This course doesn't require any prerequisites. We are teaching everything right from Python basics to math and statistics fundamentals to data visualization, data manipulation using
We invite Mr. Srikanth Sir, Chief Secretary Officer of Government of Telangana, to felicitate Bryce.
So, please take it.
Take them. Even the short splashes. Now I invite Mr. Joginder Tanikella, CEO of T-Works, to felicitate Mr. Sai Krishna and Mr. Srikanth.
I just want to say that what is this? Is working?
You can speak in.
Yeah. No, I just want to say that it's not just mad scientist, it's also surprising scientist. Yeah. Yes.
Before we dive into today's discussion, let's take a moment to get to know our incredible speakers a little better. We have some clips that showcase the groundbreaking work of Bryce and Peter in the gaming industry. These moments highlight their journeys, the impact they have had on the gaming world, and how they're championing accessibility and creativity for everyone. Let's watch and be inspired by their stories.
Video games.
Good job.
Leo has issues with his motor ability. He doesn't have access to a lot of things.
There's so many disabled people that deserve a shot to be like everyone else.
I want to be a part of this world.
So this is my Xbox adaptive joystick.
There's a lot of pressure. You can control without using both hands.
He gives flights to him. This is a joystick. I'm manipulating the character, and this is how I'm moving myself.
This is how we do. This is where it comes to the car. You can get different choices, and this is what I use to eat the new bar. You can get cars from the Xbox Sauna, and you can go somehow and get good.
Be yourself, design it how you want. You're playing with your Xbox controller.
When he needs help, when he gets stuck, I can release the gas for him, then he can control the rest. Having the joystick knows his playing program.
He enjoys winning and will definitely let you know when he does.
Welcome to the Inclusive Tech Lab. When we built this space to show people what it's like to be a gamer with disability. When people come here, we want them to understand how gamers with disabilities play games, and we want them to leave and intentionally include gamers with disabilities in products that they create. This is our Xbox controller. We love this controller. And we know when we look through this lens of social model of disability that if one of our customers doesn't have the ability to do any of this, that this is a disability. And that's what we're looking at solving. This is the Xbox adaptive controller. What we designed here was basically all the alternate use cases. This controller is easy to use, extensible, and readily available. The extensibility of this device comes from the fact that on the back, you can export every button from the controller to a standard switch interface. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a custom controller. The Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, we really like this controller for someone who doesn't have fine motor movement. And I'm going to plug in the USB from the Extreme 3D Pro, and we're going to play some Forza.
Peter, and I'm the Mighty Eagle and CMO, so constant marketing by Victoria. We're making games, so we made Angry Birds, but then we also expanded into a lot of other areas, so we're really building the brand of Angry Birds. So we have animation, we make books, we have a lot of consumer products, everything from toys to soft drinks, and we're building parks. Rovio actually got started as a company 10 years ago in 2003, and it started actually out of a game-making competition that I organized. So I happened to be working at HP and then organized this competition. Niklas and two of his friends, they were students at the Helsinki University of Technology. So then they actually took part, they created this game called King of the Cabbage World, and they won the competition. And after that they came to me and said, okay, now what? And then I said, okay, why don't you start a company to make games? And they started Rovio in 2003. And then, 51 games later, Angry Birds. So Angry Birds was actually the 52nd game, and that came out 11th of December 2009, which is now like a global university. So yeah, we're coming out with a line of toys as well, and this is actually the first one. And let's see here, and it's actually pretty cool because it's a slingshot toy. So you can actually, it makes the same noise as in the game, but you can actually shoot it for the iPhone and other smartphones until we have a hit, and then kind of like taking it to all the screens. So that's kind of what we do with Angry Birds, and for us it's actually we only care about two things: our fans and our brand. So right now we're taking our brand everywhere. So we started with games, then we have merchandise, so we sold a few of those toys, smaller though, but anyway, million a month so far. And then we're also doing a lot of other merchandise, so that's going very well. And animation, we bought an animation studio, so we're going to produce a whole bunch of animated shorts. Already have 170 million views on YouTube, which is more, yeah, but it's like we're only getting started, so it's not like Bieber numbers, but we'll get there.
I don't know, 170 million is pretty strong. You should
it's more than most of the Hollywood studios, but again, that's not like an amazing benchmark anyway. So we want to be the first entertainment brand with 1 billion fans. If you go back to 2008 when we started Slush, it's one of these examples of, again, impossible being nothing. Nobody believed us. This is going to be the biggest and best startup event on the planet. First year of Slush, we were at Korjaamo, not far from here. We had 300 people. Actually, the weather was much better, like from a Slush perspective, because we got a massive snowfall the night before, so it was actually cold, dark, and pretty miserable. So not exactly Slush, but still. But yeah, 300 people got together, and we kicked off the first Slush event.
Now it's time to welcome the visionaries who have shaped the way we experience gaming today and continue to break barriers in this field. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Bryce, co-founder of Microsoft Inclusive Tech Labs, Peter, the brilliant mind behind Angry Birds, and Joginder Tanikella, CEO of T-Works. They'll take us into the future of gaming and share how technology can empower us all. Let's welcome them for the exciting Fireside chat.
Thank you everyone for being here. Good evening. And I would like to thank Bryce and MadScientist, and I request the MadScientist founders to come up on stage, please. We must thank them for making this possible. Thank you. In fact, these two gentlemen have brought such wonderful and eminent personalities from the world of gaming to T-Hub and Hyderabad, and of course T-Works. So thank you, and thank you very much for being here. So it's my privilege and it's my honor to be able to have a small discussion with Bryce and Peter here. And before I start, I just want to give a shout out to my brother who's been playing Xbox since I don't know when, and that's for Bryce. And I want to give a shout out to my daughter, because she's also a big fan of Angry Birds, and we went to see the movie also because of Peter, so thank you. Now that they have all been introduced, so I would like to get started with our small discussion. So the focus today is democratizing gaming tech for the world. So the first question I have for Bryce is, because we all know that Bryce has enabled access for the Xbox to almost 18 billion people worldwide. So there are so many of us who are not able to use the Xbox controller, and Bryce has enabled access like we saw in a wonderful video just now. So my first question is, what are some of the core lessons you learned while designing the Xbox adaptive controller? How did your team ensure that it could accommodate players with a wide range of disabilities?
Yeah, thank you for having us. We have an initiative at Xbox called Gaming for Everyone. And one of the core ideals of that initiative is this idea that when we do not intentionally include, we will unintentionally exclude. So we always have to be questioning our assumptions and our bias. And so when we started the work, the first challenge was to recognize that our beloved Xbox controller, which I will say is the greatest game controller that you can get, your opinions might be different, but they'd be wrong. The Xbox controller is the best. But when we look at that controller through the lens of human diversity, we had to recognize that it unintentionally excluded people. And all game controllers did that. That game controllers basically evolved assuming people had two hands, that they had two thumbs, that they had a fluid range of motion, that they had the strength to hold them, that they had the reach with their index fingers. And then when we look at how people actually are out in the world, if you couldn't use the game controller the way that we designed it, then we created the barrier. And according to the social model of disability, we created the disability. So it was important for us to create an alternative device that allowed people to make a controller that adapts to them, which is why we called it the adaptive controller.
Thank you, Bryce. And one thing I really appreciated you said is that more than inclusion, it is about making sure that no one is excluded. So one of the features I noticed also about the adaptive controller is that different people can customize it in different ways, and that really helps. Now, I would like to ask Peter, because we're talking about democratizing gaming tech, but we also must mention about game design. So Angry Birds revolutionized mobile gaming and made it accessible to millions of non-gamers. Can you walk us through your design philosophy? And what key principles did you focus on to ensure that Angry Birds would appeal to a broad global audience like today? Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that what was very important with Angry Birds was that it actually created this like Angry Birds movement in gaming. And example of that is actually like very early days of Angry Birds. Niklas went home for Christmas 2009, and then, as I mentioned there in the video, Angry Birds wasn't the first or second or even third, it was the 52nd game that Rovio made. And then, Niklas goes home for Christmas, and then, takes his phone, shows to his mom that, hey, this is, our latest game, like he had done with the 5100 games. And then, mom looks at phone and okay, yeah, very nice, and gets the phone back. But with Angry Birds, Niklas didn't get his phone back over Christmas because his mom was playing Angry Birds. And of course now, that's like perfectly normal, like okay, no big deal, of course, like everybody plays games. But in 2009, this was unheard of. What? Niklas' mom playing games? Because it used to be that games were for gamers, people on Xbox, PlayStation, whatnot. That's, like real games and everything. But then what happened with Angry Birds was that everybody started playing games. And I think like almost every day somebody comes up to me and that, like, I never play games, I play Angry Birds. Or my wife never played games, played Angry Birds. So that was like really massive. And now what we all take it for granted. We all here, we play games, but we are not gamers. Because it's quite normal. That's like everybody with a phone, of course you play games. And I think that this was really important in expanding the market and making it like normal and acceptable to play games. I think this is something that is really, that's democracy. It's for everybody. And then if you look at the design. I think that has everything to do with it. So, you know, like Angry Birds was one of the very first games that was really, really designed for touch and for touch devices. If you look at many of the games, like early days of, you know, like iPhone and touch devices, they were games that you took from like Xbox or, you know, PC or something, meaning that they were typically like you had to go through all kinds of like crazy settings before you even got into the game. Or then you had like a virtual joystick, and you know you tried to make a game that was great on Xbox or PC or you know like another platform, tried to make it work on the new touch devices. And most of the time, not amazing. I mean, yes, you could play the games, but not really. But then when you look at like Angry Birds, even, you know, everybody with kids knows that even 2-year-olds can play Angry Birds. You can just click, you're in the game. No settings, no nothing, just, you know, press play and you're in the game. And I think this is, of course, we take it for granted now. I mean, that's like what you need on mobile devices, that, you know, you have a few minutes of downtime, you're not gonna, you know, like, prepare, you know, like, okay, like with Xbox or a PC game, you know, like, or at least that now I'm gonna play for hours and hours. Just like, okay, 2 minutes, I have time for one level, done. So it's very important that you get into the experience. And then another thing that was very important in design, if you look at Angry Birds, and now we take it for granted, but we had a philosophy that eliminate all text, make it graphical. You know, and we also had a rule in the company that all the slides had to be without text. You had to be able to communicate your idea visually. And if you look at the original Angry Birds, you know, that's why 2-year-olds or anybody could play it, because you don't need to read tons of like instructions or anything. You just like graphically see what you need to do. And now we take it for granted, but before Angry Birds, that was not like normal. You know, you had a lot of like, you know, hoops that you had to go through so that you could get into the experience. And then I think also, I mean, if you look at the slingshot, that was actually a late addition to the game because it wasn't instantly obvious for people how to play the game. But once we added the slingshot, it became obvious. So, you know, then a lot of these kind of things that we really put a lot of effort into making it super approachable. And because we did that, then, you know, we eliminated text, we eliminated language. So we didn't need to go through, you know, translating to all the languages on the planet or anything like that. It just worked. And I think that, yeah, that really fits under this democratizing gaming, you know, tagline, because that's what we did. And you know, not always like totally intentionally, but it happened. And then another thing that also happened because of all this, that we got a lot of feedback from parents that, hey, you know, my kid has, you know, these disabilities. This is the first game that my child can play with the other kids, because it didn't require lightning fast reflexes or anything like that. And I mean, also got feedback from you know, children that this is, you know, like my mom is already old and she's like doesn't really she's not able to interact with like the world anymore, but she plays Angry Birds and it makes her happy. You know, so I think that a lot of these things can't just happen, but I think that when you do great product design, a lot of these things like just happen. You don't always plan for them, but you just make a product that just works, and then it works for, you know, billions of people. And I think that that's kind of what happened with Angry Birds, that we really put so much effort into, you know, like thinking the design, the product, everything. And as I said also there in the video, that we really, you know, like for us it was about fan experience. So it's all about the fans. So we didn't talk about users, customers, whatever, but really fans. That needed to be the level of the experience. And then we took the brand, not just to games, but we took it everywhere. And that was also very much by design. That's was because we had experience of making 51 games before, so we knew that it's super difficult to make a hit game. So once you have a hit, you go all in, you take it everywhere. And for us, everywhere was not taking just the game everywhere, but taking the brand everywhere. And then many people started telling us that, hey, what are you guys doing? You know, like, you're a games company, you're making toys, soft drinks, bars, like everything. Like, you should focus. And then I always tell people that we are very, very focused, but we're focused on providing Angry Birds branded experiences in all forms and shapes for our fans. So very focused, but the focus on the brand, not just.
Uncle, मेरी चाबी.
Actually, like a master class on so many things. And the first thing was about presentations, you know. It's very important to have visuals only. So we start crowding our slide with a lot of text. And the one thing, you know, I felt very vindicated when I first went to Y Combinator was that it's just a few words, black words on a white slide. So I used to have a lot of arguments with designers, you know, I just want to have simple slides. But you have taken it one step further and removed all the black words also. Thank you. And of course, the second point which I noticed is that the slingshot came later. So, you know, it's very, very important for us to understand that like we should not aim for perfection all the time, you know. So things take time. So main thing is to get started. And of course, an important point you mentioned is that once you have something good going, just go all out, you know. Just go all out and make sure it happens. So thanks for that. And now I would like to ask Bryce about his experience working with the Microsoft Inclusive Tech Lab. Since you have been working with them a lot and you have been working with disabled communities and game designers, so could you please share a few stories from the lab?
Yes. Yeah, sure. Well, the lab started as a toolbox full of assistive technology that I kept under my desk. And the video that you showed was the first room that we ever had. And if you go to our website, you can see the current room and see that how it's evolved. At first, we built the lab to show our colleagues that gaming was more than just like using a controller, which Xbox was really hard. The cognitive dissonance was really difficult. So we needed to demonstrate. We couldn't show enough videos or pictures. We had to actually get people to sit down and try to play. One of the first demos that we made was play Rocket League with no hands, right? So like just your feet. And that helped bridge that gap. But as we've evolved the practice and moved beyond gaming, we've refocused the lab to be the place on the Microsoft campus where the disability community can call home. It's very important to us. You know, you all folks have probably seen Microsoft here in town. It's a big place. There's lots of big campuses. Redmond is one of the largest corporate campuses in the U.S. It's really easy for us to get in our own heads, meaning that we think that the needs of Microsoft people are the needs of the people, and that's false. So, you know, when it comes to the disabled community, we needed a place that they could come in, that they could work with us. And since we've opened the lab, we've hosted over 20,000 people in the 7 years to kind of understand our inclusive design process. And at the same time, we have a very core belief that the room is for the disabled community. So there's these schools in the U.S. that are called transition schools. They're for students with intellectual disabilities. And they're basically a facet of school. And we kicked out Walmart to host the transition school. So I don't mean that in a bad way, but we said, listen, this is what the room's for. The room's for these customers. So we politely asked Walmart to come back another time. So that's some of the stories of how we use the room and how we engage. because we know, like I know I said this before, but if we don't intentionally engage the community, we will unintentionally exclude people. So it's always about intention.
Thank you guys, and I think this is another masterclass actually. So the main thing I understood from what you just said is that I really appreciated that you said that your lab started as a toolbox under your shed. So once again, this is a good lesson for me and for all of us. I believe that the beginnings don't have to be big. So we start somewhere and we start with what we have right now. Then the second thing which I learned is that, doing this learning. So when you start playing Rocket League without your hands, then you actually understand what people are going through. And now coming to the third point is that disabled people need a place to come in, and they must understand that the room is for them. So in that case, actually, I would like that we work together with T-Works, and we do have room, and we would like to work with you and make sure that the room is for everyone. So thank you very much for that part.
Thank you. That sounds exciting.
Now I have a question for Peter. So again, this is about non-gamers like your co-founder's mother. Yeah. So the thing is that mobile games like Angry Birds have a huge potential to introduce gaming to non-gamers. How do you think mobile gaming can play a role in democratizing access to gaming tech, especially in developing countries?
Yeah, I think mobile for many years has been the center of gravity if you look at gaming. So everybody has a mobile device, and it really is like pretty much everybody on the planet now. So you have a device with you all the time that is capable of playing games. And I mean that started already with like those Nokia phones with Snake and like all of that. So always when you have a program or platform of some sort, the first thing that you need always games. And that's actually how Rovio, the company behind Angry Birds, got started. That was a game making competition that then Niklas Kimanjarno took part in and then won. And we created that competition because Nokia had come out with their first smartphone, so we needed games. And I think that's kind of also history of gaming, that always new platform that you can program, games happen first. That's like always. And now that everybody has that, all these like nice platforms, games with smartphones with them all the time, of course, and that's really important. And then the biggest, I don't think that we're going to see any other platform with that kind of reach anytime soon. I mean, that's very clear. And then I think that there's still a lot of potential because we have few examples, but very few. I mean, you look at something like Pokemon Go. That's actually a great example of the kind of games and experience you can build when you have a mobile device. But it's actually quite surprising that we have very few gaming experience that really make use of the fact that, hey, it's a mobile thing, you can walk around, you can do things, you can use the fact that the game moves with you, and that's something that I expect to see in the future, that a lot more of these gaming experiences that actually make use of the fact that it's a mobile device and it's with you all the time and all that. And it's actually quite surprising that we haven't seen more of those experiences, or not many that have been very successful. So yeah, I think that there's still huge untapped potential when it comes to mobile and gaming, and really making gaming, really pervasive. I think that's something that I think we still have a lot of opportunity, and really make use of all the different, sensors and things that we have in the modern mobile devices. I mean, there's a lot, and we haven't yet and we haven't yet really explored it to the full. So something that we can expect to see to the full. So something that we can expect to see in the future. Some pretty cool things in the future.
Actually, I really appreciate you say that mobile is the center of gravity for mobile is the center of gravity for very cheap, especially in India, where we have very cheap data access. And of course, when we were talking about Nokia, human technology, so Nokia, I don't know how many offers here would have been. I don't know how many offers Nokia would have, but there was a time when Nokia was actually democratized access to mobile phones with the double access to mobile phones with the double scenario for everyone. Really changed the scenario. We also had a high-end model. Then of course in 1997, I remember being a civilian programmer and trying to make a game from that. So I think that in fact that's a very interesting way of how it connected both high-end and low-end. So thank you for sharing your.
But I have to add that there's actually another very important lesson if you look at the example of Nokia. So pretty much everybody here probably had a Nokia phone at some point, and now not so much. And I think that, and this is also actually, I was working at HP, so that's kind of where I started my entrepreneurial journey. So I can only say that I started at the original tech startup that Bill and Dave started in their garage, all totally for 1939 before my time. But actually I met with both Bill and Dave when they were still around. And they're fantastic entrepreneurs because not only did they start HP in that garage, but that's considered the birthplace of Silicon Valley. So and if you look at the Silicon Valley model, then Bill and they met at Stanford, and their professor suggested, okay, why don't you start a company? And they did, and they went to the garage. HP happened, and then Intel, Apple, Google, and Sergey and Larry, same model. They met at Stanford. They went to Susan Wojcicki's garage in Menlo Park. And Google happened. So the Silicon Valley model is very simple. You meet at one universities, go to your garage, magic happens. Silicon Valley model. But then what I wanted to make the point that HP, when I was there, right there, smack in the center of Silicon Valley, then this little thing called the internet and the web happened. And HP managed to kind of completely, ignore that. It was very, very successful in this client-server way, so selling lots of big servers to big corporations, and the HP guys thought that we figured out that this go on forever, and then there was this tiny little company called Sun Microsystems that started running around saying that hey, we are the dot in .com, and then all these companies said we need a website, we need to be online. Who do we call? Oh, these Sun guys. If you go to Facebook or Meta nowadays, to their headquarters, there is the Facebook sign. If you look behind the sign, or this poster-like sign, what do you find there? Sun Microsystems. Yeah. So it reminds the guys there that hey, be careful. You're not going to be around forever because hey, who cares about Sun? They're now no longer they're part of Oracle and all that. But that's a reminder to the Facebook or now Meta people that don't get too cocky and think that you figured it out. And then that gets to my point about Nokia. That for many years Nokia had as an ambition to get to 40% market share globally in phones. They did, and now they're no longer making phones. So the most dangerous thing for any company is success, because then you start thinking that hey, we figured it out, and the following day gone. And okay, Nokia is still around, and they're in top 3 for mobile infrastructure and all of that stuff, but they're no longer number 1 in phones. So I think that is a very, very important lesson that don't ever think that you figured it out because next day you're dead.
Because actually, that makes me very glad that I'm not an expert. So, on anything here. So, yeah, okay. So now.
But I always say also that I'm not really an expert in this area either, but we can all learn.
Nice one. Yeah. Now, now we want to ask you about the principles behind the design of the adaptive kit and the adaptive accessories, especially what are the challenges you face in making these devices accessible to everyone?
Well, expertise is really interesting because I never really consider myself an expert in anything either.
I mean, I think that's the whole point of challenging assumptions. If you're not challenging your assumptions, if you're not hungry to find more information and understand how people work, then you'll never find those new things. I also don't like when we strive to create systems that can include everyone, but we don't think about one size fits all. That's not a thing that we do. You know, we strive to think about this idea of one size fits one, and I'm gonna get a little designery on you for a minute. Like, the thing about software, you know, is that software doesn't have to have form. I've worked with software engineers for forever, and if a software engineer tells you something's impossible, what they're really telling you is that they don't have enough time, right? So nothing's impossible in software, right? So when I moved to hardware from software, I started having mechanical engineers telling me things were impossible. And I was like, come on, man, just work harder. And they were like, no, physics, right? So, you know, this idea of how we create these systems that can include as many people as possible is about things like modularity, it's about things like adjustment, you know, it's about things like augmentation. You know, one of the wonders of like the practice that I have is to look back at the birth of modern ergonomics, right? I don't know if people have heard this story, but after World War II, the American Air Force started making planes. And the way that they made the cockpits was they took the measurements of all their pilots, they set an average, and then they designed the cockpit around the average pilot. And what was happening was that planes were crashing all over the place. And so they couldn't figure it out. They thought it was pilot error, they thought it was all these things. What eventually ended up happening was they had researchers go back and measure pilot fit the average. You know, and all of that stuff. So I hope that answers that question. But I mean, that was a little intangible, I will admit.
Actually, it did make a lot of sense, especially when you said that one size doesn't fit all. And that's a very important thing for all of us to keep in mind. So as I'm also software and hardware, so I can appreciate what you said, that if a software engineer is saying that it can't be done,
And I think that, you know, it doesn't matter if you're from Hyderabad or rural area. I mean, that's kind of like, again, when you get the design right, it will just work. And I think that's you know, how when you make games, you should yeah, and of course, I mean, then you can have an approach where you design something that, okay, that it's really super approachable and it works for everybody. but then not everybody loves everything. So then, of course, now that the gaming market is much, much bigger than it ever was, now you can really design games, like it could be for, women in rural areas in India, and it's still like a big enough market. So I think that comes with any market. When it comes big enough, then you really can start creating very specific and very like customized experiences, because the audience is big enough. I mean, if you only have like, few thousand or tens of thousands of people, then probably it doesn't make sense to design a game. But when you can very easily, rural area women in India, it's massive. So of course you can create a game that is really like specific, I think that comes with any market, that it's big enough, then you start seeing specialization and very like targeted games and other experiences. So that's how it goes.
Actually, I shouldn't even have asked you the question. I'll tell you why. Because when you said that your principle is about visuals, right? And you want to remove text, then obviously I'm sure Gopio can come up with a game good for rural India as well as the rural US, or maybe even rural Korea for that matter. So I think
absolutely. And I think that that is also like all properly designed products and services, they just work. So I think that is something, and I mean, this is also like, coming from Finland, that we have this thing that we hate design that is just like designed to look good, but it doesn't work. And this is like the most annoying thing, that you should always make your design work. So it's like very pragmatic approach. But then there is no excuse for making ugly products. So I mean, that's also like the thing that it should work, and of course you make it look good, you make it beautiful, but don't make it beautiful and not work. That's like the worst.
I think it's a good lesson for us actually. Functionality, in my dictionary also, functionality wins over aesthetics any day actually. It's more important to be functional than to look good, as you say.
Don't tell French people.
And now I'll just have a common question for both of you, and then I would like to open up the floor to our wonderful audience who's been sitting here actually. So the question I want to ask you, and both of you the same question actually, but I'll repeat it also, is obviously about the future. So what do you think from a hardware perspective, or maybe even software if you'd like to say, is the future of accessibility and inclusivity in gaming?
Well, I mean, in gaming and in all things, I'm very excited, and it's both hardware and software. I'm just really excited by the idea of AI on the edge right now. I mean, I think this idea of being able to transform content, and a lot of the content people in here might get a little mad at me, but this idea of being able to transform content from one form to another on the fly really opens up a lot of potential for people with disabilities. I have a friend who has very, very little mobility. And you mentioned, the twitchiness, right? So he has no twitchiness. He wants to play the guy at the Destiny Hub that sells you stuff. So what becomes really powerful in an age of AI is the idea of like, I can play any NPC. Like, what is an NPC, right? And it becomes really powerful to think about just being able to transform one game genre from one thing to another, potentially on the fly for the situation. One of the big areas that I've always pushed, and I will tell you, I've gotten very little progress on, is this idea of creating games that you can play while you drive. Okay, so work with me here for a minute. I get it's scary, But the idea, you can listen to music while you drive, you can read a book while you drive. What's the game that you can play without your eyes, with little attention, while you drive? And, you know, so if you can do that, you've created a game that can address people with no vision and can address people with like a lack of attention. So it opens it up to a lot more people to think about these situations.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity that the AI opens up, and we can really, you know, create, you know, we discussed the experiences for like women in rural areas, but I mean now you can really do this kind of like very, very personal, very, very like specific experience for all of us, you know, so that's something that is really cool. But then one thing, and we're discussing that with Bryce, so one company that I'm very excited about is a startup in Estonia. So actually one of my Finnish friends started that. He's the guy who actually invented the swipe and the pinch that we all use on our smartphones. So it's like one of these like inventor people. But anyway, so he has using telehaptics, so basically, you know, like touch. He's created a solution that gives blind people sight. So the way it works is that we take camera input, we convert it in touch, so you have like a matrix on your forehead. So the way our brain works is that if you're blind, you know, or even, you know, like for us, you can wear this headset, and then, you know, it takes the camera input, converts it in touch, and you can see in the dark. Okay, you're not really seeing, but you're feeling. And our brain is like an amazing thing. So, you know, it takes like 30 seconds or a few minutes max, and you can see if you're a blind person. And then when you start thinking about the things that we can do, that we can convert like one sense, you know, sight, or you could be hearing, into touch, and then our brain understands how to convert that, you know, so that we can navigate in this room without seeing. You know, I can see your hand, so I can shake your hand. I mean, there are videos on the company website where, you know, there's a blind person, you know, blind from birth, and he first time ever sees his hand and starts to cry. You know, so those kind of technologies are crazy powerful. Yeah, you should check it out, but it's really like super cool. And then when you start thinking what that will enable going forward, you know, like new senses and all of that, and that's you know, like the really cool stuff. And that will also, of course, as I said before, programmable platform. What will we see? Games. We already see games now. First time ever, blind people can throw a ball and catch it. For us, you know, normal, he can do that. But if you never see him, you have never been able to do that. Now you can. Amazing.
Well, that's actually very powerful visual, you know, so that the blind is a person being able to see their own hand. And thanks, I did not know about telehaptics. So, I mean, I had a rough idea because of that, you know, remote kissing thing. But this is, of course, a different use case. Thank you. And what I really appreciated is, you know, that you brought out the point that with AI, any NPC can become a real main character, you know, and that's a fantastic thing actually. So that leaves the door open to, I don't know, so many game spin-offs that will start happening. So if you, I remember playing Warcraft, you know, so I can imagine now, you know, every orc having his own game, and it will be fantastic. So it's a wonderful future we're looking forward to. And before I open the floor up to the audience questions, I just wanted to share that in India we're always playing games while driving. So I don't know if you have been in an auto rickshaw or you know, we should come with, maybe I'll take you tomorrow. Okay. We're always playing games while driving. Yeah. I don't know how we do it, but we manage it. Yeah. So thank you very much. And now I request our wonderful audience, if they would like to raise some questions, please. If someone can just pass the mic. Yeah.
thanks for the great session. And how here.
Sorry, please introduce yourself, right?
Myself, Ajit, I'm founder and CEO at Forbidden Verse, where we are creating an NFT-backed comic universe that extends to metaverse gaming and animation. So I have two questions, one for Peter and as well as Mr. Johnson. So for Peter, I know like you've seen a lot in this game development and the talk. So where do you see where like we have come to a long journey, like where from 8 bits to 120 GB games. So where do you see in the next 3 years? Will the people put an XR set and forgot this world? Do you believe in that? And from Mr. Johnson, we see like the consoles have developed a lot, and from a keyboard games to the controls to today, will you see like where with just people's senses they can able to play in a game, like the combination of both the AI that can help us just giving the real time like just looking at you, you can just looking your facial expressions can be our into that in coming years. What your call on both these two both questions? Thank you.
Yeah. I think that if you look at gaming and you look at like technology, always at the rodeo, we're telling people that we're not like a technology company. We use technology to create amazing experiences for our fans, but it's never ever that, oh, there's this cool like VR headset, let's make a game. I think that it's very, very common that people get carried away, with this, the latest buzzword and technology, and then you start thinking that, like, what will we create, and we really want to use this technology, and most of the time, if you are like led by the technology, the outcome, from a gaming perspective, is maybe not so great. You really need to think about like what kind of experience do you want to enable and create for your fans, and then you go, okay, we need that, and you just like use the technology. But and I think it's in any business, if you start getting carried away by the technology, probably you're not going to be super successful. And if you take VR as an example, I don't remember how many years, this year is going to take off, this year is going to take off. It's never going to take off, let's face it. Not in the way it's being like done right now. And here I compare to billions of mobile devices, very few other devices. So of course, you can create success in any environment, but it depends on if you want to, change the world or have a few hundred people. So I think that's again. So I would be careful with getting carried away by technology. That's something that happens all the time, and the results are typically not that amazing. So yeah, that's my part.
Yeah, I agree with Peter. I will say though that I'm professionally carried away by technology in many ways, right? And I will preface that in that, an important part of our practice was people would always come up to me and they'd be like, near field communication, what does it do for the disabled? And I'm like, I don't know, right? And so it's weird to be led by technology, but at the same time, I think technology is evolving so fast. I've had to readjust my thinking and think of it not to be led by technology, but to flow with the current, right? And to be open to that. But again, I agree that it can be a trap. But I also think that when it comes to XR, there's tons of great XR content, but I think it will become even greater when it's not forced to be XR content, right? What's just great content?
Thank you for that. There was two wonderful viewpoints actually, and I really appreciated the way you said flowing with technology. That's a nice one. And in fact, I suddenly had a thought about the foundation, Isaac Asimov. So maybe we get there somewhere and we flow with the technology. And by the way, I don't think Palmer Lucky will be very happy about you saying VR is not going anywhere. Okay. Anyway, next question, please. Thanks. Nice questions. Thank you. Please. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Here. Yeah. Good evening, guys. Yeah. So I have a question, Peter. So is it the games right now more experience-based or content-based? Since the time I'm a kid right now, when I used to play games, Angry Birds, let's take an example, it was more content-driven, story-based games. So when this AI coming into the picture, so is it dynamic storyline or still a fixated storyline in the coming ages?
I think that it's both, or like everything. So I don't think that there's like a right answer, because you can create great experiences with like both approaches. And I think again, it's you have to think about the experience you want to create. I mean, there are, fantastic movies, and they're like linear, and you can't do anything about it, but it's still like great. And then, there are games where there's like nothing linear about it, and they can be great. So it's up to us to create those great experiences and not get like, okay, is it this or that? I don't think there's a right answer. You just need to make the great experience, and that's it.
I think the fact that AI is the best power of AI is transforming one form of content to another, and that every NPC gets their own game in the future. So I think games are actually going to evolve to a more non-linear fashion actually.
But I think also one thing there, if you look at AI, it's very easy, or it's getting easier and easier to create all kinds of things. But then most of us are not fans of all kinds of things. It's a little bit like this that, you can do anything. Like, what do you want? And then like, I don't know. So the thing here is that there's also a bit of a danger there that it devalues, like then there's, seeing that there's like 1,000 of those or 10,000. How many do you want? 100,000. So I think that there's still need for, great designers, creators. That doesn't go away, but it just means that people will be able to do even greater things. But it's also that it doesn't mean that all of us will, all of a sudden like be, the Mozarts or, like whatever. There's still like, it doesn't get totally democratic. That's my point. That it's still there's still a need for like all of us to do things, and there's need for talent and all of that. That AI, I don't think that AI will ever, and okay, it's always dangerous to say like ever, but I mean, if you listen to some of those like AI people out there, then it sounds like, oh yeah, AI is gonna replace like everything. No, it's not. We're nowhere near. But of course, some of those guys need to say those things because valuations and things matter. So of course you need to do that. But let's not like buy into all the bullshit.
Thank you. We have time for one last question. Actually, both of you, one after the other, and then we can, Okay, thank you.
Actually, Peter answered the question already. It was regarding AI, but I had a simple question apart from that. Peter, that's for you. Why do the pigs want the eggs of Angry Birds, the load, when it was developed, And I played it, I was totally immersed in it. But I just want to know the creative point of view, since I have the chance. Why birds versus pigs? And why do pigs want to eat the eggs of the birds?
Very, very good question. And this actually, I think that the question that I get the most is, why are the birds angry? and then, but the really cool thing there, and this is actually like a bit of a, like lesson in branding, and how I always done branding, that you have to, if you're a small startup, you have to make the brand work for you. So if you look at Angry Birds, first time you hear Angry Birds, yes, you will ask why. Why are the birds angry? And guess what? Then the brand is stuck in your head forever. So you always want your brand to create a reaction, or ideally a question. So if I take Slush, why is Slush called Slush? Because the world is full of these wannabe Silicon Valley events. And you invite a few people from Silicon Valley and they'll give a talk and they'll tell you important things like fail fast and blah blah blah, yada yada, all of that kind of stuff. Great things and whatever. And then they leave and nothing happens. But then with Slush, we decided we organize Slush in November. So when you come to Helsinki in November, it's cold, it's dark, and there is slush on the ground. So it's not the Silicon Valley, it's better. It's much, much better because it's different. Okay, it's different because we put young people in charge. So the biggest and best startup event is organized by young people. So this is what makes it different. And that's why it became the biggest and best, because we didn't do what everybody else was doing. We did something different. So also, then, if you look at Angry Birds, the brand is different. I mean, now, of course, everybody knows Angry Birds and it's like normal, but it's kind of like a unique combination of words. Angry and birds. Like what and why is the question. So then, if you look at how the game came to be, it actually started with the birds and the bird characters. So Jaakko Iiso, one of our game designers, he had been drawing these like bird characters for many years. And then he was pitching a new game idea that featured the birds, a very different game mechanic, but and nobody really cared about that. But everybody immediately fell in love with the characters. That hey, we have to build a game around those birds. So that's like how it started. Okay. Then many different ideas and all that, and okay, then narrowed down to this kind of gameplay that we had. And then, of course, in any good game, yes, now we have, okay, somewhat different, hero characters, we have the birds, but they're angry. So then you need to have, the enemy. And of course, everybody now knows that, green eggs, steal eggs. That's how the world works. So it's very simple that you have birds, eggs, pigs stealing eggs, Angry Birds. That's the story. So birds came first, then we needed pigs, of course, green pigs, why not? And then, have the pigs stealing eggs, and then you have the whole thing. And it's there, and it's very easy to understand, and you all remember it, and you will tell your friends. So that's kind of how it happened. And then, a lot of things for example, one very iconic thing, besides the bird design and all that, but it's also the laughter of the pigs. That's actually developers at the Rovi offices late one night after a few beers. So that's how we created that. So it's very, very authentic and very annoying when you play the game. There's a lot of things that we put into the game. Actually, one thing that also created some problems for us, but that made it very organic, that there's a bit of randomness. So you can never replicate the same slingshot of the bird exactly. And that's just like life, that there's always like a bit randomness, that it's not perfect, and that makes it more like organic, and I think it's very important. But it was very difficult then when we wanted to take the game and create these competitions and all of that, because then like if you can't replicate, then it's a bit of a problem. So if you play the Facebook version, it's actually like a bit different, and you can actually replicate and all that. So there's a lot of these kind of things. But yeah, so that's a bit of the story.
Thanks for asking that question. And I know we are running short of time, but we don't get opportunities like this again. So I will. So there's two questions. One is from this gentleman, and then one behind it, and then we'll close. Thank you.
This is a question to both of you, I think, because games are such a unique domain in which we go into them with the intention of enjoying difficulty. And these are something, how do you think, are there areas in which we can extend that? Like what are the learnings we can take from game design? And what are the other areas we can apply them? Because there's obviously, when children are exposed to games, they're going into an area where they're sort of enjoying this difficulty curve. And a lot of skills in life, obviously, it rewards you to take on things that are difficult and solve problems with, and a sort of cascading or increasing level of difficulty. Yeah, so that was the question.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. It's really interesting, right? Because and it's a good observation, right? Games are challenging. Challenging is fun. Being challenged is fun. So, when it comes to my work in accessibility, we often talk about barriers and facilitators, and we talk about eliminating barriers and things like that. But the thing is, with a game, if you eliminated the barrier, it wouldn't be a game, right? So it's about right-sizing the barrier. It's about tuning the barrier. Easy, normal, hard is not enough, right? You need way more tuning than that to account for human diversity. But I do appreciate what you're saying about extending this idea outside of gaming, because I do think that we all want to be challenged and live up to that challenge. So it's a really good observation. I don't know if I answered that, but I'm really glad you asked it.
It's food for thought for all of us actually now. So we have one last question.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I think that we can apply to pretty much everything, and education, obvious area, and I think that it all starts with the fact that how do we humans learn? We learn through play. That's just like how it works. And then, unfortunately, our educational systems, most of the world kind of like tend to forget that simple fact, and then we turn education into something not so fun, not so game-like, and that's really stupid, because we should actually, let kids be kids for as long as possible, and kids learn through play. That's like natural. So, why wouldn't we like that to happen? And why wouldn't learning be like enjoyable? It doesn't have to be, not fun. So I think that we can apply, gaming and great game design to like pretty much everything. But education, I think, is like really obvious.
It's a nice one. Now I'll last question. Can you just? So you want the mic already? This will go on.
Can I have the question?
Go.
First of all, I'm very much privileged to be here, and I'm very happy to see you, both of you gentlemen. So my name is Nudeep, and I'm the assistant manager for Climate and Integrations. So the question is for both of you, even to Bryce and Peter. Nowadays, you can see the kids who can't even speak much, who are younger than 2 or 3 years old kids. I can give you our relevant example. My nephew and niece, They are just 3 and 4 years old, but they know all the games. And whenever they snatch phone from us, they download from Play Store and everything. So games are nowadays influencing their mind, the youth, the generations, and as you say, like even to rural areas, women and on. Why can't we create a game which can be a very good thought of learning for even for the kids and even for in the process of learning, where we can drive them and scale up their skills and everything.
Yeah, it's something that I've been working on for quite a while, and so I think that you can learn anything by playing games, but of course the difficulty is that you need to bring together the best pedagogues and the best game designers, and most of the time they are not the same people, so it's quite challenging to build teams where you have both. And we have many examples where you have one side that great pedagogues and really like bad games, or then great game designers that have no clue about how learning happens. So then yeah, it's a great game, but did you learn anything? Not really. So there are a few examples, but not that many yet. But I think that we will see a lot of development and hopefully also some very, very big success stories. I mean, we have some examples, but I think that there's still a lot of work and a lot of opportunity. So yeah, definitely we should expect to see some great and really fun learning games.
Thank you, and I think this gentleman has been waiting for a long time, so we'll have one question from him and then we'll close with the questions, right? Yeah, okay. Please do introduce yourself. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sankar Mukherjee, and really nice to see you two all here. And the thing is, what I wanted to ask is to Peter. Angry Birds has become a really popular game and as well as a cultural icon in the whole world. What were some of your key decisions to turning from a popular game to turning into a cultural icon? So that's my question.
Yeah, I think that touched on that already earlier today. That for us it was very clear that once we have a hit game, then we take it everywhere, because we knew very well that it's super difficult to create a hit game. I mean, anybody that will tell you that, we know how to make hit games, actually they don't know. And the same is true for movies, music, you name it. And people who think that they figured it out, they haven't, and typically then, they're not very successful after the first year. But for us, we really decided that, okay, we're going to take Angry Birds everywhere. So it was, really from the beginning the plan that, okay, once we have a hit game, we take it everywhere. So then we acquired an animation studio, we did the consumer products, toys, soft drinks, t-shirts, funny hats, you name it. And our kind of thinking was that we want the brand to be part of your everyday, and all the time. So you play the game, you drink the soft drink, you go and buy the toy, you see the toy, you need to play the game, and then got movies and all of that. And I think that many people have tried to do that. And I mean, our kind of benchmark and role model was really in many areas like Disney, because they've been very successful creating many franchises, many characters, a lot of things that all of us know. They haven't been that successful in gaming though, so we had some very interesting discussions with those guys also, but yeah, can't share everything. But I think that it was really at the core of our thinking that it's all about the brand, and then it's all about making sure that the brand is like always there. And if you talk to some of the Hollywood people, they always have this concept that they have to let the various characters and things like rest. I mean, we were talking with DreamWorks, and then I was like, why aren't you guys doing like more with Shrek? Because that's like the only, like from my perspective, the only real success that they ever created. That Shrek is like amazing, and I would put Shrek everywhere. And then they are telling me that Shrek is resting, and it's like, what? You know, like that's the character that everybody knows, and they want to have more. If you let Shrek rest for too long, nobody will care, and I think that kind of happened. So for us, it was very clear that we just like want to make sure that everybody lives and breathes the brand, and we managed to do that. And okay, if you look at Rocky today, so I left after we got the first movie out. I think that it's totally underexploited brand. So I think that you could do a lot more. But yeah, I mean, it's again, you have to know where you want to go. And I always say that if you don't know where you want to go, we're not going to get there. So for us, it was very clear that that's where we're going, and yeah, then we went there.
So thank you to our wonderful panelists, and thanks to our wonderful audience. Sorry, offline people. And I want to say a couple of things. One is that, Bryce, you mentioned that 20,000 people came to your lab, right? So at T-Works, we would like to work with you to make that 200,000 people here. So we'll discuss about that. And of course, welcome to the AI capital of India. So I hope that we work a lot more with education innovation as we discussed. And now I'll hand over to our comrade. Thank you.
I thank the panel for such an enlightening discussion. Your thoughts and visions have given us all a glimpse into a more inclusive and connected world of the gaming. I request Joginder Tanikella to kindly present mementos to Bryce and Peter. Bhanu to present memento to Joginder Tanikella. I also request Bhanu Prasad President to join them.
I think, we should give a standing ovation to the MadScientist team. Thanks to people for allowing us to participate in this discussion. And the discussion has made me start thinking. So hopefully we will get to work together. And thanks MadScientist for doing this again. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming over. Thank you Bryce, thank you Mr. Peter for coming to this MadScientist talks. So I think my sister is here. We played Angry Birds fighting for the only mobile we have at our during in our childhood days, and it was totally memorable times that we had with Angry Birds. We haven't played much with Xbox, but I'm a huge fan of Xbox and the everything that you have made for the gaming tech, which made totally accessible for a large number of people out there. And thank you so much for both of you for coming over today. And my sister is over there taking the pictures. So So thank you so much. MadScientist Talks is is conducted just to create more awareness about science or technology, at the same time to make you guys excited about technology. When I was in 7th standard or 8th standard, the only way of reading or understanding about technology was to read magazines. My father was an school principal. I used to read a lot of magazines, encyclopedias. That was only my way, gateway to reading these kind of magazines or understanding about these technologies. So during all these days, due to social media, digital age, and all these happen, right? Too many distractions now. We just wanted to have we do not have a proper platform to understand or even visualize such things. So we are kind of building a future magazine, kind of only for technology, a platform where one and all discuss and share information in technology. That is what we are trying to build. And if you are interested, just do join by, and we'll be conducting these kind of talks every month onwards from now on. And this will happen entirely on emerging technologies, AI, space tech, robotics. Even the game started with the gaming technology right now. And with the platform that we have built, it's almost growing almost in 20 plus countries. We just wanted to solve a small problem to make people aware about technology. But now, out of nowhere, it is going abroad and it's going almost in 20 countries, and we did not even anticipate for this. Samosas and chai, and you can involve in networking as well. So thank you so much. We hope to see you all again for the next MadScientist Talk. Thank you so much. Be a part of our network. Now we'd like to invite everyone to join for a networking session where you can connect with industry professionals and fellow attendees. Thank you.
ఏం కాదు పని చేస్తున్నాం కాకుండా డిస్ప్లే అక్కడికి వెళ్ళింది ఇక్కడ లేదు ఇక్కడికి దీనిలో పడికి వెళ్ళింది